This is the third Ivy Pocket book. If you haven't read the first two Ivy Pocket books, this one is going to make no sense to you because Ivy doesn't bother to explain anything. She's a busy girl with no time for recap.
Argo Funk Book Review. Argo Funk Book Review.
Ivy's on her way to London. The villainous Miss Always interrupts the trip. Ivy barely manages to escape. She ends up on a farm, and she barely manages to escape the farmers. Get used to escape scenes. There's about 10 of them in this book. Ivy has two goals. She wants to save Anastasia Radcliff from the madhouse, and she wants to travel to the world of Prospa to save her friend Rebecca. But it would ruin the book if she did all the otherworldly travel first. So the clock diamond stops working. Now she can't go to Prospa. Ivy learns Anastasia has been taken away to an unknown location. She secretly follows Estelle Dumblebee and learns Estelle is going to Butterfield Park. For about 100 pages, Ivy goes undercover as Esmeralda Cabbage. She interacts with all the mean rich women from the first book, including Countess Carbuncle. Ivy's not good at being undercover. She keeps starting conversations about herself. No, I'm not Ivy Pocket. I just talk about her all the time. The women sneak into the ballroom in the middle of the night. Ivy figures there's a hidden passage in there, but she can't find it. There's a big ball. We know Ivy can't possibly attend a ball without destroying everything. So she accidentally sets the Countess on fire, throws her into a jelly, releases a swarm of bats, and floods the ballroom with rats. But on a positive note, Ivy finds the hidden passageway. It leads to Anastasia, who's chained up in the basement. Ivy makes sure Anastasia is taken to safety. The rich women appear. They reveal this was all a giant trick. They purposely lured Ivy here so they could lock her up as a mad woman. There's a fair amount of squabbling because two of the nicer women were not in on this scheme. Fortunately, Ivy is too smart for them. She reveals she's also been planning a giant trick for the past 200 pages. She has? Wow. I'm impressed. I did not think Ivy was capable of fooling everyone for so long. The trick is that Ivy knows there's a portal here, which Miss Always can open on the full moon. Ivy purposely lured everybody here on this date so she can go through the portal and escape to the world of Prospa. Ivy barely manages to escape being caught by Miss Always. She meets a boy and a girl. They give her important plot information about Prospa. See, Prospa suffers from a plague called the Shadow. There's a palace called Prospa House where people go for healing. It's run by the evil Justice Hallow, who's using the plague to enrich herself. Hallow's forcing innocent people like Rebecca to give up their lives in this endeavor. There are dozens of hostages in the house, but Ivy doesn't care about any of them. She only cares about Rebecca. It's kind of rude of Ivy to ignore the others, but that's the way the book is. Miss Always attacks. Ivy barely manages to escape from her. She sneaks on board a train where she almost gets caught, but she barely escapes because a kindly stranger vouches for her. Inside Prospa House, Ivy locates Rebecca, and they make a wild escape again from all these guards. Rebecca leads Ivy to a portal, which is in the basement, but before they can use it, they are caught by Justice Hallow. Justice Hallow decides to transport the girls somewhere, for some reason. I'm not really sure why. There are two different carriages, and once again, Ivy barely manages to escape from all the guards. She sees the other carriage has a girl who looks just like her. Miss Frost arrives. She explains Justice Hallow poisoned the portal between the two worlds. There's only a few hours left before the portal closes forever. They break into a mill house, which feels like an escape scene because they're going past all the guards again. They rescue the other Ivy. She's sort of like a shadow copy of Ivy from the first book. Like when Ivy first put on the clock diamond, it's that Ivy. And there's a funny scene where the two Ivies talk to each other. Ivy hates her duplicate, even though they're the exact same. The two Ivies are forcibly joined together, So now Ivy is no longer half dead. Throughout the entire book, Ivy has dreams about her mother. At this point, she realizes her mother is Anastasia, meaning Justice Hallow is her grandmother. Ivy's sure Granny will love her, so she escapes from Miss Frost and goes to Prospa House. Surprise! The evil Justice Hallow is an evil person. She's about to kill Ivy when Ivy's rescued by Miss Always. Sort of rescued. Miss Always takes her hostage and she forces Ivy outside at knife point. Miss Always forces Ivy to fulfill her role as the Duel, the mystical person who's destined to save the world of Prospa. So Ivy puts her hands in a magic lake, things start glowing, and everybody's cured of the plague. I wish plagues were that easy to cure in real life. A crowd proclaims that Ivy should be the queen. Miss Always tries to seize power, but Ivy pushes her in the lake. Justice Hallow shows up with hostages. She also tries to seize power, but Ivy refuses to go along with her evil schemes. She saves the hostages and declares Miss Frost is the queen of Prospa. Yeah, Miss Frost lied to Ivy repeatedly, knocked her unconscious at the end of the last book, robbed her. So she's probably not the best choice for queen, but it's not like there are a whole lot of other options here. Ivy and Rebecca escape through the portal as it closes forever. Both the Duchess of Trinity and Lady Elizabeth get redemption scenes. Ivy is reunited with her mother. It's pretty emotional, surprisingly emotional. I really liked it. And they all live happily ever after. The end. Post-book follow-up. If you like the first two books, I'm sure you'll like this one. It's the same sort of humor. Ivy says a lot of ridiculous things. She brags about herself constantly, and she's rude to everyone. There are some parts where Ivy makes humorously bad decisions, but not as many as before, because in this book she's more of a hero. I didn't like the sense of humor in any of the Ivy Pocket books. Some of the jokes are funny, but for the most part, I'm not amused by them. It's just not my style of humor. How much you like these books really does depend on how funny you think Ivy Pocket is, because there's just no escaping her distinct narration. I thought the book had one too many escape scenes. Towards the end, it felt like Ivy was just bouncing around among the three women from Prospa. Whenever she escapes from one woman, she quickly runs into another. The ending was nice. I think the book gave enough closure to the many characters from the last two books. We learned a good deal more about the world of Prospa. If I liked this series more, I would probably go back and reread these books. Now that I know all about Prospa, it would make more sense reading stuff from the first two books. Like that portal scene from the first book. It makes way more sense now, right? I'll give this book the same score as the other two books in the series because I think all three of them are of the same quality. I give Ivy Pocket number 3, Bring Me the Head of Ivy Pocket, a 4 out of 10.